again, everybody. This is Pastor Scott. Hope you're doing good today. Today, we're going to have an awesome podcast with these two ladies. Uh, to my right, I have Deanna, uh, special person. I met her through Nick Anderson, which we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little while. And to my left, I have Connie Hager, who I've been friends with a long time. I met her through a former friend of hers, her husband, Jody Lee Hager, a great guy. So we're going to talk to you today. We're going to bring a different aspect to the podcast. What we're going to talk to you today is about how these ladies, being on the outside, dealt with the situations on the inside with their husbands, boyfriends, husband now, being on the inside of prison, and they were on the outside, and the things they had to deal with. We really just wanted to bring some hope to some of you guys, letting you know that there, if you have a son, a child, a husband, or whatever that's behind bars, that God can really touch them and reach them. So, um, Deanna said that Connie was going 1st. So we're going to turn it over to Connie. Just let her share her heart. We don't have anything scripted, and we're just going to let Holy Spirit move. And we just pray that it blesses your heart as we do this.
Okay. My daughter's dad was not a part. He was not with us when he was sent to prison in 2005. And I made a commitment to him that I would bring our daughter to see him and I would try to keep the family together. And I did that for 9 months. Every Saturday, I went there, wrote letters every day. I did everything I could on the outside to keep the family together. But while we were there, um, he was still in his old self and was accusing and it got to be every Saturday was just a grueling visit because he was just on me constantly. And one Saturday I looked and my daughter was laying her head down on the table and the whole time she wouldn't even lift her head and I realized then that this wasn't working. And so I talked to her and she said she didn't go back. Uh, so we stopped going, and it really hurt for Dad, but I felt like it was the best thing to do for her. So he still continued to call, and I accepted the phone calls. And it was hard raising our daughter by myself without any support from him financially, and then him draining me with like calls. And it was Christmas. I was struggling, and he had manipulated his way to have someone call me from the prison ministry. And I know that the person was just doing what God had led them to do.
Wasn't Lincoln prison?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Lincolnton. It was somewhere else,
Okay.
further away. But they called and I was real rude to them and I felt really bad, but they were telling me what a good man I had and how I should just try to keep my family together. And I'm thinking, you just have no idea the man I'm dealing with. So I quit going and I felt really bad about that, but I left him alone. I felt real bad about that as well. But by doing that, he was forced to rely on God. He was forced to listen to what people were saying, and that the prison ministry were the only ones that were coming in that he actually had contact with, because nobody in the family, we'd all had it. We were like, we can't do this anymore. So those were his family, and they meant the world to him. And through them, and through the chaplains at the prisons, he did change. But it was only when the family stopped enabling him and we stopped being made to feel guilty for what we were doing, because we were doing the best we could. He put himself in that situation, but it affected everyone, and especially so. It by the grace of God, he turned his life around and he came out and he was a changed man. And through the people that came in to visit him, they were his support system and they did get through to him and he looked forward to seeing them every week and they never called me again. And but that was not their fault. That was through manipulation in the
Yeah.
games he was continuing to play. But they do change. There is hope, and the prison ministry is a wonderful thing.
So right quick on the manipulation thing and how they make you feel guilty, and then people start enabling them. Can you share a little bit about how bad, why do you don't enable them? And I know this is hard for some of you to hear, but my mom was one that she told you If you waste your phone call when you go to jail, you're going to waste it calling me. Don't call me because she believed in tough love. And I've seen so many guys behind bars that the parents and family, wives, and everything, they manipulate them and get them to send them money all the time and make them feel bad. They do without while they're, let me tell you something, they eat good in there. It may not be the best food, but they get 3 meals a day and they got a place to sleep. So you should not feel guilty. But maybe talk a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, before he went in, he was a manipulator. I mean, that's how he made his living, and that was his characteristic. And he carried on into prison. And he would call home and phone calls, just continuous phone calls. They were costing me, not him. And he wanted $40 in a commissary every week, and if I didn't, I was blowing my money on things that I shouldn't have been doing when I was the only one working. um, Christmas came and they could pick out a gift basket. He picked out one that was $100. It was all about him, and he just kept, and as long as I kept doing it, he kept expecting it. So I finally put my foot down and I'm like, I've got a daughter, our daughter, you got yourself in this situation, you're being fed, you got a roof over your head, and I've got to take care of her. So I cut it all out. And once I did stop doing all the things that he expected, he started changing and things started changing in his life because he didn't have anybody else to manipulate.
The first time I met Jody, the guy we're talking about, he's passed away now. But I met him at the prison. He could sing like crazy. He's on the Grand Ole Opry and everything. But he was just a great guy. But you're right. Even when he got out, I had to deal with him. Uh, but he was really had a good heart. Had a problem with drugs, and it took him down the wrong path. But I believe in the end that he got his life back right with the Lord, and I believe he was a good guy at the end. He's a good friend. All right, Deanna, we're going to talk about Nick for a few minutes. I met Nick at the prison, and as soon as I met him, we made friends. And a little bit later, it wasn't long, he started telling me about Deanna and all this good stuff and how they were going to get married and all this. And I'm like, okay, I've heard it a million times, I mean, I'm sorry, I have. And, she's the best thing since peanut butter and all this stuff. And come to find out, Nick told the truth. She's a pretty good person. But I want to let her share a little bit about how it was for her through the years being on the outside end, taking care of Nick and loving Nick, even though he wasn't home with her.
So I'm Deanna. I went through several different stints with Nick as far as him trying to get help before he went in. He had a addiction problem where he had gotten hurt and got addicted to pain medication and led to, a lot of other things. Um, it was really hard. We tried to get into the programs several different times, and he would do good for a while, and then he would just go back to just old ways, and he would continuously say it's just I'm around the wrong people, it's the wrong crowd. And I said, sometimes you have to realize that you might be the wrong crowd yourself. And he was like, well, you're right, and you're going to influence the people that you're around. So maybe Nick wasn't all bad, but if you're around good people, and you're going to continue to seek that. And so that was one of the things that he just continued that pattern. And a lot of things that were done was kind of behind the curtains, where I didn't really know what was going on. He had taken some things from family and different things, and that caused a lot of pain to them. And then that reflected onto me, as though I was taking part in everything that was going on as well, which I was not at all, not even a little bit. And I mean, looking at it now, I can see why they would feel that way. Because how can furniture get missing or different things be gone and me not notice? But the situation we were in, I wasn't in, you know, I wasn't aware of the things surroundings. But either way, it still hurts that like that got cast onto me just because I was with him. So then he went in, and at the time that he went in, I was just pretty much done and just completely broken. Um, and that for a little while, I tried to keep my distance from him, and he wanted me to help him to get a lawyer and stuff. And I told him no, that I was not helping him anymore. Um, that, now he was going to get a court appointed and get what they gave him. And unfortunately, it was an extended amount of time that I wasn't prepared for, but that's what happened. And I wasn't planning to just sit and wait. Um, but sometime within the next year, just the small conversations that we had, I just saw that he really, was just so remorseful, and he felt so worthless that he couldn't really let go. Even though a lot of family and myself and people had forgave him, he could not forgive himself, and he was um just really torn down, and I was almost scared that he would do something to maybe harm himself. So I gave in a little bit more, and I started praying about it, and I was like, if he's supposed to be in my life, just guide me. If it's going to be friends, if it's going to be more than friends, if I just need to continue to reach out and write letters or encourage him. And that's really when I realized that I love Nick, is because whenever you're willing to do whatever it takes for that person, for them to truly make it and to be happy, regardless if you benefit or you're in the picture whatsoever, I was willing to completely give him up for him to have a great life and me to be proud of him. And he didn't realize that. He felt that I was throwing him away and being disposed of. But I honestly just loved him that much that if I was with him, great. If not, I was just. God
You
was
want him
working
to
in
make it,
both of
yeah.
us, God. That was kind of my first experience with letting God just do His will and having peace about it, and that helped a lot just to have that peace. But as Connie was saying, I got involved with Al-Anon, which is contributes to the loving without enabling, and that helped a whole lot with the mindset. Because I mean, even for the parents and the spouses and the people that are on the outside, whenever you have that person in your life that are on these drugs or doing these things, I know parents, and I've seen it where they would take them to get these things because they would rather go know where they're getting it from and bring them home and know that they're there and they're not out terrorizing others and they're not out hurting them, and it would give them the peace of mind. And they justified it instead of seeing it as enabling, that they were somehow protecting them and protecting the other people that were involved. And it's really hard, just to cut it off. So I definitely see that point about the being, enabling, and you kind of take on all of that responsibility financially, that they leave you in. And I was really broken with that part too. We lost a lot, whatever he didn't give away. um, Nick just continued to just grow and pray, and I'd heard it all before that he, we'd all always been involved in church. We knew each other from a young age, and we had both always, read our Bibles and tried to pray and do what's right and be good people, and that just wasn't getting us there. And he devoted himself to doing prison ministry with, you know, whatever opportunity he could do. Anybody that came in, he was going to go. Didn't care what religion, who it was, what denomination or anything. He did not care. He was going to go to that and listen to what they had to say, whether he got anything or not. And he just was like a little sponge and just absorbed everything. And the conversations, they just shifted to when we would call, instead of him harassing me for money and he needs this, and he's coming up short, and why am I answering the phone when he calls, and just the heartache and all the arguing, it started coming to him witnessing to me and telling me, this is what happened, and then him running out of time and me being like, oh, here's some money, put more money on the books and put it on the phone so you can tell me, like it kind of shifted. Like I wanted to have that communication because I could feel that he was being pulled, and I was, learning through him. He was always very knowledgeable with anybody can memorize scripture, and he has the gift of doing that. But applying it to your life, he needed a little work on that, and that's where he got from prison ministry that he was just open to whoever. Um, he was one of those that wound up being a leader in the prison system, I feel like, because a lot of guys would come to him and say, I don't quite understand this or how it's worded, and he would just break it down, and he still does that for me today. And he learned that while he was there, and just having that patience, and not getting so angry, and just trying to fight for through all of his emotions. Like he just kind of he just got it. Um and I just prayed and prayed for somebody, like a godly man in my life. And for a long time, I thought I had wasted a lot of time and invested a lot of time and had some heartache and some, heartbreak and disappointments and things. And I was like, for whatever reason, God's still keeping me here, and I still wasn't 100% sure that it was for that, for that love, but I knew that I needed to be in his life because he could offer me just as much as I could offer him. So he was reaching out to me from the outside, um, and giving me that, because I was going to church, but I wasn't as involved as I could have been. And I would say things like most people say, I'm not getting much out of it. We're stagnant. Nothing's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I was like telling him and complaining, and he was like, well, what are you putting in? And that's really where it turned around, is what was I putting in? And we started kind of living by that. And like when we would have hard times, it's like, well, what have you done to rectify it? And we just leaned on each other for that. And we're both so grateful to Scott. I never know what to call you. Scott, Chaplain, Pastor Scott.
As long as you call me to eat.
um, but no, we're both so grateful. And he kept telling me, please just go try this church, go try this church. And I was skeptical because, I'm by myself. And I was like, I don't know, it's a really big place. And so I finally got a friend to go with me. Well, when I first came,
That was on a Wednesday night, wasn't it?
when I first came, you didn't know who I was. Like you and Dan and a few people was like, hey, how's it going? They were all greeting me and stuff, and I sat down. Well, then I stood up and we worshiped for a really long time. My legs was tired because I wasn't used to it, but now I love it. But so like you at the end of service, it's like you zoned in on me and you came straight and you were like, you gave me a hug and you were like, thanks for coming. We hope you guys enjoy it. We hope that you will we'll see you again. And I was like, well, I was going to tell you who I am, and then you were just like, oh, okay. So I knew that, you know, just by him reaching out to me, I needed that, because that just shows, that you don't know who's watching, you don't know who's there, and who you can touch, just by that one small act of kindness. And I was just really grateful. And he just kept doing what he's supposed to do. And he had the opportunity for a work release to go transfer. He said, no, I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to stay in the Word and devote myself. And he had a small job that when people would come out, like the prison ministry, that would do, like, he would do the sound and help set up. And that was everything to him. Just that small thing that they relied on him for. If he was sick or whatever, he was like, I've got to get better because nobody knows how to do it. I know they'll figure it out, but I just need to do it. Like, he was so committed to just the smallest task, but anything that would have him be a part, you know, in the ministry, whether it was the baptism nights that y'all do. And
He helped me with chaplain's assistant.
yeah, and he loves to share his testimony, because sometimes whenever you see somebody that's just happy-go-lucky, you don't really see the hurt. And whenever people hear his testimony, they're like, wow, and he really made a pull through. And just, I mean, I don't know how much of a part I played in it for him, but I know that by him doing prison ministry, it definitely worked in his life and my life to help tie us together.
Yeah. Tell them about what happened last week, though.
Oh, this little thing happened last week. So, and I was telling the girls at the jail ministry, I was telling, they were all saying what they had. We always ask them what they're thankful for, what good happened in the week, and they were just saying all the good things and that they had happened. They try to dig down deep and find some stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I got married last week, and they were like, what? I was like, yeah, it was Wednesday night. We did a worship service, and Nick gave his testimony, and we were married. It was just like a really beautiful thing. A lot of people from the church just came together and surprised us with things that we wasn't expecting. It turns out Nick knows everything, and he's devious.
He didn't know.
He knew a little bit.
He didn't know about the cake and
No.
all that stuff. We didn't tell him. You know who did that, don't you? These
Yes,
two right
and
here.
the cake was amazing.
Yeah.
Connie, let me just give her a little shout out. If
Her
anybody
banana
needs
pudding's better than
anything.
the cake.
Okay, I haven't had that yet, but she's
And the
actually offered.
peach cobbler in the skillet. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna get all messed
No,
up.
I
now.
asked her to teach me like cake making 101. Like we're gonna have a session. It was so amazing. And Miss Anita brought everything together, and just everybody's just so like we didn't even realize the family that we had built. Everybody's always been really nice, but just the family that we've built here at New Vision, and that's all just because of prison ministry, and just the outreach and how important it is for people to go in there, love on these people, and just show them that we know that you're broken, and we know that you're worn down, and you're so tired, and you're ready to give up, but we just
Hope.
yeah, we love you, and we're gonna get you through this. You're not by yourself. It's just a really amazing thing, and I'm just thankful that I get to be a part of that.
I get to see a lot of the guys, talk about their fiancés or wives and all this stuff and the regrets that they have. That's a lot of the conversation I have with them. Uh, but both of these ladies did the right thing by just, kind of pulling back a little bit and not giving them every single thing that they asked for because that's what's got them in trouble anyway, is getting what they wanted, chasing what they wanted. And, they've got to learn that they got to trust in the Lord and they got to let the Lord provide for them and stuff. And so I think it's pretty powerful from these guys. Y'all got anything else that you?
I would like to say that for the families, prison ministry is not just for the prison, for the inmates, because when Jody, I hadn't talked to Pastor Scott in probably 10 years. And when Jody got sick, I knew that he would want to know. And I picked up the phone on my phone and I texted him or through Messenger and told him he was in Alaska. And this man right here stopped what he was doing and he talked to me and he checked on me and Jody the entire time he was away. And it had been 10 years, like talking to a long lost friend. So it's not just for the inmates, they are just as much for the family and the support of the family as they are the people that God love is there. And if it had not been through the prison, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Thank you.
It's a powerful ministry, and our
Thank
church
you.
has just embraced it, and it's really good to see. Good to see. What? Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. These guys now go into the jail. Chef Beam, some of you have heard this story. Chef Beam called me and asked me about getting some volunteers to come in, and we started going on Monday night. I took two girls, started with Michelle and Kayla, and now it's grown. Connie's going, Deanna's going. We had Jenny and Reba last week. We've got another young lady that's coming from the Cowboy Church where Bill Beam's a member of, and I met her Wednesday night. I really want to talk to her. She seemed like she's got a powerful testimony. Maybe that'd be something we'll bring her in and stuff. Maybe get her and Chef Bean. That'd be a good one. So, but it's just powerful. It's a powerful ministry. The jail ministry that these guys are doing is just awesome. Reba calls me last night. She says, Pastor Scott, I got to get in over the educational building. I've got a girl just got out of jail. We got to get her some clothes. So these guys have really taken it on. I heard Connie right before we started talking to some of them on the phone, trying to encourage them. That's what touches my heart, is because they get it. Not everybody gets it, but they get it. and they've been on the other side, and now they're getting to do this, and it just blesses your heart when you see people, uh, especially like with Michelle and Kayla at the very beginning. It's just like boom, the eyes light up, and they go in, and they're looking forward to it now. And they understand, and I can tell, as either one, both of y'all are probably blessed more going than they're ever blessed by you going,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
it's just powerful.
I mean, we all just kind of like we do like no less than two, no more than four when we go, and we're all kind of like, well, who's gonna go? And it's like everybody's like fighting to go because we want to see these girls, and so we're like, well, I'll go, you know, and I'll go, and then it's like, well, I want to go, you know, and like, so we're all like fighting for these little spots. I wish we all could just like go together because we all have different backgrounds, you know. Some of us had drug use, some of us had what me and Connie had, where we kind of saw it from that side. We just all feed off of each other, and it's great. You know, we have a group chat that we randomly just throughout the day or the week. If anybody thinks about it, we'll be like, pray for the girls, and we'll all like kind of just take a minute and do that. And it's just really cool how we all have something different. And I wasn't sure how I could fit in because I didn't know what I could offer, as far as being on the outside, and I hadn't been in the system. Um, but like these girls, they're very relatable. We go when we go in, they're just always amazed at how we can like share things with them of our life, and they're like, oh well, they're not so perfect, and they're leaning on God, and He's bringing them through it, and I want what they've got, and that's pretty powerful.
I'll say this, it's been an eye-opening experience for me because I understand. And I understand how those people had some faith and hope in Jody because I have that same for the people
Right,
that I'm
right,
going in there to
yeah,
see. And you
yeah,
get attached and you get invested and you want what's best and you want to believe and you're with them an hour. So whatever they're relaying to you, you take hold of that and you believe it, whether it's true or not. Believe that it is, and I do believe it is, and I believe it was with Jody as far as what he was doing. Too. So I have a lot of eaten crow, I guess you might say. But I
yeah.
have an
It's good.
appreciation that I didn't, an understanding I didn't have before experiencing it myself.
It's almost like I get blamed all the time for being gullible, and it's not gullible. You just love people, and you just want to see
Mm-hmm.
the best. You want to believe the best, and sometimes we do get taken in.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it for the right reason, then it's good. But I want to thank you guys for coming in, and we'll see what happens later on. And I just pray God's blessing over everyone that watches. If you would please, it's very important that you share, like, comment, and all that stuff, because the more you share it, the more it gets shared, and then the more people see it, and the more people see it, somebody that God wanted to see it will see it, if you know what I mean. So, but we love you guys. Huh?
I have one.
Okay, one more thing.
I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
trying to wrap it up too. I just want to encourage anybody that's interested in doing jail ministry or prison ministry. Reach out, no matter what you feel like you have to offer or you lack or whatever. We all have something to offer, and they all need it from all aspects. And that's just something that can't be said enough. Just please reach out, and if you're just sitting there and you're just smiling and you're just loving on them and encouraging them, or if you write, and Connie does devotions, amazing with her
Amen.
words.
Yeah.
Like it's just it just you soak it in your heart, and she'll do those with the girls, and they'll be crying and they'll be begging her for copies. Can we get a copy of that because it's so powerful? It's just
She's gonna have it in book form because I done
whatever you
prophesied
have
that.
to offer, just give it.
Yeah.
Because they truly need it, and it does make the difference.
And I found that gift through writing letters. The devotionals that I write are similar to the things that I wrote to Jody.
Wow.
And he always told me writings get to me more than anything. I always had
So when is the book?
Oh, no.
We'll be doing a podcast. Mark my words. Mark my words. We will be doing a podcast on her book. Hopefully, really soon. But we will be because she's very talented. God's gifted her, and we're proud. We're proud of both of you guys.
Thank you.
All right. So anyway, we're gonna wrap it up. Hopefully, Anita can make this thing look good. Hopefully, I set up the whole time. And we love you guys. But please share and come see us. God bless you.